tell you something about Andrew. This is my boy right here. You disrespect him, you're disrespecting me.
Inside fighting, Sean's inside fighting.
UFC 297 Fight Week in Toronto, in the 6, Drake's hometown. And so it makes a lot of sense that I'd be hanging out with Inside Fighting's coolest hip-hop aficionado, Timmy Shoes. I'm just kidding. We have the MMA aficionado at Inside Fighting, Timmy Shoes, MMA on X. What's up, Timmy? How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm not I like hip-hop, but I'm not a Drake guy, I gotta say. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I have not been to Toronto, no. Is it big over there?
It's supposed to be an awesome city. I've never been. It's supposed to be awesome. I've been to Vancouver. I've never been to Toronto. So, it's supposed to be awesome.
I did watch a couple episodes of Degrassi when I was a kid. I know Drake was on that show. So
yeah, he famously got shot and paralyzed on that show, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, we're going to there's plenty of content coming out of Toronto, so we have a lot to talk about in terms of what's been coming out of Fight Week there. And, you know, much like UFC 296, UFC 297 is picking up right where UFC 296 left off with all the controversy about what things are saying in their media day interviews and their press conferences. And obviously we're going to get to that and what Sean Strickland said at his UFC media day. But yesterday on UFC Embedded, well, first off, you obviously know what happened at UFC 296 with Dricus and Sean. Dricus making the comments about Sean's father abusing him as a child and how that led to, you know, some pretty nasty back and forth that led to the fight, the brawl in the crowd in Las Vegas. So now we have UFC 297 Fight Week starting off with a UFC Embedded episode of Sean and Dricus seemingly burying the hatchet, shaking hands, getting off to a cordial start, and Sean says something interesting to Dricus, where when they're shaking hands, he says to him, "Thank you for being understanding." And I was like, what is he talking about? Thank you for being understanding. And then I realized it was because Sean Strickland actually sent Dricus du Plessis a DM saying, if you bring up my dad or my childhood at the press conference, I will stab you. I will kill you. That's basically what happened. And Dricus was apparently responsive. So yeah, what did you think of that? Are you happy with them burying the hatchet? Do you kind of wish that these guys had kind of kept the beef going? Like, do you feel what do you think?
I'm glad that the fight isn't going to get canceled, because when Sean Strickland says, he said something in the message along the lines of, "I will ruin my life and yours." And I believe him. I don't think he's messing around. I think he really would have done something stupid. He really would have, you know, he stabbed him or attacked him or done something stupid that puts the fight in jeopardy. So in that sense, I'm glad that, you know, the fight is no longer at risk. And I don't want to see Sean Strickland in jail, and I don't want to see Dricus du Plessis get stabbed or anything like that. So in that sense, I guess it's probably good. At the same time, it's a little less compelling, right? Because, you know, we expected a little bit more of trash talk, and maybe if that was going to be inspiration for Sean, how that was going to affect Dricus. You know, so there's things that are good about it, and then there's things that are sort of like, I kind of wish that there was still a little bit of that, because it seems like they're a little too buddy now.
My issue with it more so is, well, obviously it started off because a lot of people felt like that brawl at UFC 296 might have been staged. Robert Whittaker said it might have been staged, but I don't think it was. I'm fairly certain it was. I mean, Strickland even said he tried biting Dricus in the melee. So I definitely don't think that was staged, but it doesn't do any favors for the fact that it feels like it was, I don't like when people draw attention to the fact that they're just trying to sell a fight before the fight happens. It's like you got to keep that intensity up, keep that same energy, as the kids like to say these days. Keep that same energy when you get to the fight week. You know, that being said, yeah, I mean, of course I agree with you. I'm happy the fight's still going through. Do I wish maybe they had been still hating each other a little bit leading up to fight week? Yeah, I think that would have been ideal. But I am glad that there was some civility here. That being said, the civility kind of flew out the window at Sean Strickland's media day interview yesterday when he kind of had a little bit of a viral moment with a reporter who was, said he was an ally of the gay community, ally of the trans community, and started pressing Sean in some of his past statements about LGBTQ, basically about how Sean wouldn't want to have a gay son, things that he said about Bud Light, and how Bud Light once supported a trans actress or trans model. Dylan Mulvaney is her name. And then they did a sort of reversal. Then they signed with the UFC. So Sean was basically making these sorts of comments that definitely upset some people in the gay community, in the trans community. And I don't know if this is a good venue for a trans activist at a UFC Media Day event, but he was being asked about it and pressed on it. And Sean, unloaded on this guy. And, obviously we're going to show a little bit of the highlights, but we're not going to show everything because it might get this video demonetized, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But here you go.
We've got a pretty supportive gay and lesbian community in this city. I did want to ask you about something you wrote a couple of years ago. You said, if I had a gay son, I would think I'd...
Oh, look, another. I'm saying to you, the swamp, you guys, the swamp.
You become a champion, you become a star, and someone says...
Let me ask you something. Are you gay?
Have you had the chance to interact with a more diverse...
Let me know. Are you gay?
Can I get an answer?
Well, no, I'm asking. This is a part of. Are you a gay man?
I'm an ally of the community.
Okay. If you had a son and he was like, you had a son, he was gay, you'd be like, oh man, you don't want a grandkid?
No problem with it.
Oh man, well, dude, you're a weak fucking man, dude. You're part of the fucking problem. You elected Justin Trudeau, like, when he sees the bank accounts, like, you're just fucking pathetic. And the fact that you have no fucking backbone, and has he shut down your fucking country and seized bank accounts? You ask me some stupid shit like that, go fuck yourself. Move the fuck on, man.
So what is your reaction? What did you think about that moment? Do you think that that's did that reporter, was that a clickbait moment? Was that just the reporter trying to do their job? What do you think was the purpose of that? Because I kind of feel like it's just not the right venue for pressing Sean Strickland. I think the guy thought he was genuinely going to own him on a world stage, and it just didn't go his way.
Listen, I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think it's clickbait because he definitely got the attention he wanted. He wanted the viral clip, and he got it. I also think, I know that we're technically MMA journalists, but personally I dislike a lot of sports journalism these days where quote-unquote MMA journalists don't really care about the fights. They don't care about the fighters. They care more about their personal political views and their personal agendas, and their they don't view themselves as journalists. They view themselves as activists. I think this happens a lot in MMA media. And I think there was a little bit of self-righteousness going on. I think he was like, I get this opportunity to show Sean Strickland and to show up he called himself an ally. So maybe he was performing. It was a performative act. That's how I'll describe it. A bit performative on the part of the journalist who works for MMA fighting. And I think he was fishing for that reaction and got it. I'm not surprised by what Sean Strickland said. I don't necessarily agree with the things that Sean Strickland says, but he was fishing for that reaction and he got it. I'm not surprised at all.
I 100% agree with you. I disagree with pretty much most of the things that Sean Strickland says. I just don't know if that's the venue for it. And I don't know what reaction you were expecting from him. Did you think that Sean Strickland was just gonna say, oh, you know what, I was wrong. I wish I hadn't. I apologize. He's not gonna do that. That's not the type of person he is. It's just that was never gonna happen. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't feel like people need to be pressed on the things that they say. I do think that you do need to hold public figures to account. I just don't know if Sean Strickland's the type of guy that's ever going to, apologize for that sort of thing, especially when he's made it clear he's willing to say these things. If he's willing to say these things, then why would he ever apologize for them when he's being pressed on it? So it was interesting. What?
It's important to point out that I don't think necessarily Sean Strickland believes all of the crazy stuff he says. He's clearly trolling a lot of the times. And a lot of the reaction that he got out of the reporter got out of him wasn't even necessarily anti-LGBT stuff. It was more like you're a Trudeau fan, you're a certain sort of political character. So I don't necessarily believe that Strickland like actually hates gay people or hates women or like all of these crazy things he says. He says crazy things. I think he's just a rabble rouser. I think he enjoys trolling, and people take it a little bit too seriously, a little bit too literally.
Yeah, and I also don't think that the guys. I don't know. I didn't think that it warranted what he said about the guy, what he said about the reporter. Basically calling him a weak man, that you have no backbone, things like that. I mean, it's like I think that like if you believe in freedom of speech and all that, then you like calling somebody weak for like what they believe is also like, yeah, it's your free speech to say that they're being weak, but also, I don't think that the way that the guy asked it was like he was necessarily antagonizing Sean. It was just that he knew he was going to get that reaction, I think is the point. I don't think he was being like antagonistic in the way he asked. He just knew exactly how Sean was going to react. And so he had his little moment, and then he can, click it and share it. But yeah, it was all over Twitter. As we mentioned offline, it was the big discussion. So let us know in the comments what you think. Did you think Sean's reaction was a W, as the kids say, or did you think that he crossed the line with some of the things that he says? What are your thoughts on Sean Strickland in general? I mean, we're coming up on potentially Sean Strickland having a title defense here, Timmy. So Sean Strickland might be around for a while as the middleweight champion. So, you got to get used to it. This is who he is, and this is what he believes. And I don't necessarily like it, but you have to accept it if you want to cover the sport. That's just the unfortunate truth. So,
Let me tell you something about Andrew. This is my boy right here. You disrespect him, you're disrespecting me.
Inside fighting, Sean inside fighting.